Hello everyone. This is a test. Just bear with me. I am just hooking some things up. I want a window capture chat. Not that I expect anyone's going to be here. That's okay. Safari, YouTube, pop out chat. Just put it over here. Live chat. How cool. So, why am I streaming? And why does it look a little bit different? Hi everyone. So I'm going to have some tea first. So, I finally got around to resetting up my workbench and setting up a Hackintosh on one of my older PCs that's been sitting in my garage. It's an i5. It's a Gen 4? Yeah, Gen 4. It's a one of the K overclockable 470. Was it 4570K something? 16 gig of RAM. It's got a NVIDIA GTX 780 Ti, GTX something, and a whole bunch of SSDs in there, and they're just SATA SSDs. They're not super fast or fantastic, but they're definitely good enough for streaming. So why did I do that? Well, some of you might have noticed on my streams, last couple of streams anyway, that my MacBook Pro is just not keeping up with the stream, especially if the stream's been going for over an hour. It starts getting a bit laggy. Frame rates start dropping. I start getting information from YouTube saying that the stream isn't going so well. So I had to fix that. So the easiest way for me to do that, other than running out and buying a brand new computer, which I just didn't really want to do, or I want to do, but I just can't really justify right now. Yeah, so I thought I'd set up a Hackintosh. I'm not really a Windows user or Windows fan. Nothing against it. I just like Mac OS, so that's what I've chosen. And so yeah, it took me about 20 hours or so or more to set up this Hackintosh. It's pretty full on, especially with older hardware. But it's all working. I think audio's working. I'm using a new microphone on my desk for now, just to try it anyway. It's this thing here. It's an active mic, but I don't know if it's loud enough. This is as loud as I can get it right now. The input gain, both in OBS and in my output settings, as high as possible. Hey Zulu Bailey, in from Nairobi in Kenya. Wow. Hey Gregor. I wasn't expecting anyone to turn up. This is very impromptu. You might have missed some of what I've already started. I'm just setting up a new streaming setup, and I'm just going through the things that I've changed. So welcome. I didn't think I was going to have anyone here. Thought I was going to sneak this one in, but I had to do it as a stream and not as a video because I need to set up need to test the streaming. As you can see, I have a different view behind me. So I've completely changed my whole workbench in front of me. My electronics workbench, which is pretty cool. I am now using my Logitech webcam for the over-the-head shot, which is this one here, which I've now got it so I can manually set focus, which is great, and I can turn off autofocus, which means that I can't focus on my hand unless I autofocus it, but it stops going in out of focus by itself. It's still doing some weird color change things, which I'm not quite sure what that's about, because all the color changing should be turned off. I have some things under the camera, which I'll explain in a moment. But anyway, I've got the webcam set up, and it's actually on an arm in front of me now, which is kind of important. Slovenia. I don't even know what time zones anyone's in, so I don't know. It's 4 o'clock, 4:15 here in the afternoon, Saturday afternoon in Australia. I hope I'm not keeping anyone awake. Anyway, so I've got the ability now to move my webcam around much easier than I had before. It's on an arm. Yes, my drivers are okay now. Last week, 2 weeks ago, Logitech released an updated, finally, a brand new app. Hey, Antonin. They released a brand new app to control the webcam on the Mac, which is fantastic, and it's pretty cool. It's a complete rewrite they did, and it's working really well. It's probably just a little bit dark in here. I can make it a bit brighter. I've only got one studio light turned on at the moment. There's a lot of backlight behind me, so it's almost 4:20 in the afternoon on Saturday. Wow. 8 a.m. So to get you up and watching at 8 a.m. I hope you're in bed, at least, watching in bed, relaxing. Sorry, I've got a very... So I'm sick. I've got a bit of a cold. It's getting worse. My kids have got it. It's going around at the moment. That's what happens when you have young kids. So I'm feeling pretty under the weather. Got a nice cup of tea. So as I said, it's not a perfect setup, but it's pretty good. It's much better than what I had before. I've got a lot more space on my desk. I don't feel as crowded now. I felt like things were on top of me before. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited by that. I've also... I should turn it off for now. Chewing battery. So I've got a couple of things to show anyway while I'm here. Might as well. Tell something about your job and earning source. Hi, Ravi. Is that to me? About my job and my earning source? Well, this is my job. I'm currently a full-time maker YouTuber. So I was a game developer. I guess I still am a game developer, but I've taken a bit of a break. I have a game development studio, but was it August last year? I decided that I want to stop making games for a while. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I was a bit disillusioned by it all. It's become a bit of a let's see how quickly we can get people to watch an ad type situation. Not as fun to make games under, when making a good game, making good entertainment isn't enough anymore to sustain a game dev company. So I decided to take a break, and I've been making stuff since then. So my earning source, well, yes, not much. I mean, obviously I'm not earning anything from YouTube, so I don't have any ads or anything turned on. And I'm doing the YouTube more to keep myself making stuff more than anything else. If I don't have a reason to make videos or streams, then I don't really have a reason to keep myself motivated making things. So that's why I do that. Speaking of making things, I'm just going to quickly sidetrack just for a second. I'm going to pull this out a bit. Where am I going to put it? So I'm still getting used to this arm. It's a bit weird, and it won't stay still sometimes. I need to put more weight on it. It's going to go way too high. That's okay. I will put that like that. A bit ugly. Let me just go with the focus. Problem with not having manual focus is I have to manually focus. Sorry, not having autofocus. I have to manually focus. That's cool. So, hey Dave, it's all about the money. No. If it was all about the money, I would absolutely not be doing this. And I'd be going back into games. Because there's money to be made in games. It's just not great. I don't enjoy it. There's definitely no money to be made in YouTube for right now. So, what are these? I printed some parts, 3 now, as you can see. Here's a little tiny one, for We the Builders, which is an initiative that, I don't know if Adam Savage started it, but he's definitely one of the people, one of the proponents of it. And it's basically, they took, the icon Rosie the Builder, who is Rosie? We're the Rosies. Rosie the Riveter, which is an American icon. And they've taken that and they basically made a big sculpture. Someone's made a big sculpture out of it. Well, actually, the person that made a big sculpture out of it is called Jen Schachter, is an artist. Brings a passion of collaborative public projects and a clear inquiry to the maker movement. And so, basically, what happens is they've made this big sculpture, designed it, cut it up into thousands of pieces. Hey there, Schmick. Good morning, evening, afternoon, something. They cut it up into lots of pieces, thousands of pieces. And what you do is you go online to the website, you sign in with your Google account, and you say, assign me a piece. And they give you a piece, and then you print it. And the only criteria is that you need to print it in a skin tone color. So I had to run out and buy some skin tone, which I have here. So it's not, it might look white on the stream, but it's not quite white. It's let me just, where's the, this is the filament here. It's, there's a little swatch. It's supposed to be this colour. It's pretty close. So I bought a thing of beige, skin beige filament. PLA. With the project. Yeah, well, I ended up printing 3 things. Thanks, Dave. Let me just go back to... Oh, my bit rate's a bit low, it says. How's the picture and everything, folks? I might have to lift the bit rate a bit. Can't do that without restarting, though. So, okay. Hopefully it's going okay. So, back to this. So, what happened was I got some filament. I got 200 grams. It's quite expensive to buy in a small quantity, but that's cool. And I downloaded a piece, and I put it through the slicer, and I thought I'd print it on my Prusa Mark III, and started printing, and I wish I wouldn't have thrown it out. Damn. So, after the 3rd layer, it started ripping it off the bed. And I went, what? I mean, this is the type of rubbish I used to get on my other printer. Hey, Sean. Picture's not great, as in it's laggy, or it's just compressed. Okay. Oh, well, I still got some tweaking to do. I'm using whatever the default OBS settings were when I ran the wizard. Maybe it just picked some settings that are too low. It's not a super fast computer, so I'm... yeah. And also this camera here, this is only recording 720. I mean, it's pretty quick. But it's and the actual stream I'm doing right now is at 1080p, only at 30 frames per second. This machine's not fast enough to do 60 frames a second at 1080p, so it could just be that as well. Whoa, sorry, just going to move my chair, stuck. Anyway, back to this. So I started, printing, and it kept wrecking like either the 2nd or the 3rd layer. And I was getting really frustrated, and I thought it was my printer. Well, it was my printer, but I kept, I'm just going to turn autofocus on for the moment just to see what happens. So I might be able to get it closer. Cool. No, don't like that at all. So after about 5 attempts and kept swapping my PLA back, so every time I put my other PLA back in that I've been printing with fine, it was printing fine. And then I put this this beige PLA in, and it was just ripping it to shreds as I was printing. And I thought, hang on, isn't PLA PLA? I mean, basically, I know there's different quality. And what's this, all this chat? By the way, I have a small suggestion. The only reason live stream videos are quite large due to limitation of time and data to watch small information video that you made earlier. But I suggest on a lucky channel. Hi, Melind. I actually do both. I do videos and streams. I just haven't done any videos this week because I'm a bit under the weather, a bit sick. And I'm actually just doing a stream right now just to test my new streaming setup for my electronics workbench, which is work from here. I generally stream also from behind me, from that desk over there. That's when I'm doing any screen captures or stuff. When I'm working in Fusion or Eagle. But otherwise, yeah, I make videos, and I've got stacks of videos in my library. You should watch them. I've got 50-something videos I've put out already. So, and I will be making lots more. But just right now, I'm just testing the streaming. So back to the PLA. Sorry, I got sidetracked. It kept ripping it up, and so eventually I recalibrated my whole Mark III, which is quite a painful process, and it takes about 25 or 30 minutes. And it got it a little bit better. And then I was slicing it all different ways, and it was really doing my head in. And cool, thanks, Sean. And it's not like, you can just look up on the internet and say, why does my beige skin tone PLA not print properly on my Mark III? So anyway, I finally found some settings that worked. I had to slow the printer right down, and it printed fantastic after that. It took a long time to print. So this was about a 6-hour print. And then, so everyone gets assigned a chunk, and then everyone sends their chunks in. So the criteria is it needs to be in skin tone, and then it needs to be sent to them by May 20th, which in my case has to be well before that, because they're talking about primarily other people in America, where it's not going to take 2 weeks to ship something there. So I printed this one out, and I had stacks of PLA left, and I thought, I'm not going to use skin tone for much else, so give me another piece. And so they gave me this little tiny piece. And I went, okay, that's great. I've still got stacks of PLA left, so give me another piece. And they gave me this massive chunk, which my wife and I are calling cheese, because it looks like a big chunk of cheese that someone's taken a bite out of. And I'm now out of PLA. So I managed to get 3 pieces out, which is great, because I originally planned on only doing 1. And what you do is once you printed the piece out, you have to kind of do a proof of print. You need to write down what the dimensions, or what the piece is. So this piece belongs at X15, Y10, and Z9 in the array. And then you take a photo of it, you take measurements with a ruler or calipers, and you upload it all, and then they confirm that the piece that you printed is the correct size and shape and looks pretty good, and then it gets marked off a list that you've done it. And if you say, I want to do a print, and you get the file and you don't do anything with it, you don't mark it as being printed or anything, then after a few days they'll reassign it to someone else. So it's a pretty amazing campaign, and I'm glad I've got involved. I probably wish I would have done it earlier. I feel like I've rushed these pieces through, but that's okay. But at least they're done, and I can send them off on Monday, and they're probably going to take about, as I said, 2 weeks to get there. And because of the size of them, they're not heavy, but because of the size, it's probably going to cost me about $40, I'd say, 40 Australian dollars to ship these to the US, because I need to ship them with tracking. That's going to be expensive, and I have to stick lots and lots of bubble wrap in them. They've only got a 15% infill. Not sure if you can even see with the lighting. Sometimes you can kind of see a little bit. You can see just along here, maybe, if the compression's not too bad. So the infill is quite small, because I didn't want them to print. I think I did 15%, Dave. This one I did 20, because it's tiny. But I think that these were 15% infill. So they're pretty good. They're pretty solid. You can see just there, the lighting, maybe. Otherwise, I mean, this was a 7-hour print. This would have been like a 12-hour print otherwise. Yes, I will put a link to the campaign. Oh, thank you very much, Dave. It's really cool. It's a really cool campaign. I think it was Becky Stern that made a few of us aware of it. Dave, did you end up printing anything? I know you were looking at it last week or so when the discussion started. Anyway, I'm going to move those to the side. Enough of that. Something else I want to show is my reflow controller. Let's see if I can keep this camera down now. Which way is that going to go? This way. Let's just get this in focus. It's the windows open, but that's okay. First time I've been able to really control this. Now this has still got the film on, so it's a bit bubbly. I'm just going to plug this in. So I've been working a lot on my reflow oven controller. Let me just turn it on. I'm using my USB battery for the first time. Also on my desk, because I finally got space to put everything. Just going to turn that on. Now I forgot to mention the other day in my stream, I've actually named it. It's now called Reflow Master. Okay, we need to get that a bit more in focus, if we can. Well, that's not... Yeah, I don't know if the screen's going to work focus-wise. Let me just... Maybe if I get a bit closer, if I can. In case you missed it at the start of the stream, I did mention that I need to get some more weight on this camera stand. Don't know what I can use right now in terms of weight to hold it still. Just need something to hold it down. It's a bit heavy. So a bit light, should I say. Come on. Teething problems. You stay there. Please stay there, don't move. Now let's see if I can focus it. Better. A bit better. It's readable. Kind of. Okay, it's definitely readable for now, so I can show it working. So I've got all this working. I've started taking some video of it. There's going to be a long video to put together. Of basically the oven working. I spent a lot of time working on the software for it, and right now I don't have the K-type sensor plugged into this, or the solid state relay, just because that's connected now permanently to my toaster, but I can pull it apart from the controller because I've just been working on the software. So it does work and it reflows and it's great. It's I did some test boards. I'm not sure if you'll even be able to see from this one. Here's a board that I did. There's a resistor on there and there's a cap over there, and I filled in a bunch of the bigger pads with paste. Just wanted to see if they reflowed nicely, which they did. These whiteboards tend to have a lot of flux residue, unfortunately, from them. Anyway, so that's all working. So I now don't have to do it manually anymore, which is great. The only real problem with it for now is that the heat doesn't escape very fast. Hey, Death Shaker. Welcome. The heat from the oven doesn't escape very fast at all until you open the door. So at the end of the reflow process, when it gets to the, if I hit start, oh, it won't actually reflow. Maybe it thinks it's warm enough. Hang on, let me see if it reads a temperature. It might read a temperature, but it might not. It knows it needs to start at 27 degrees. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, that's fine. So what it does is that when it gets to the top of the curve and it knows it's going to start coming down, and even though it's supposed to come down for a little bit and then drop fast, once it comes over the curve, the buzzer goes beep, 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 and it says on the screen, open oven, and you got to open the oven to get the temperature down quickly. So one of the things I'm working at the moment, I've been playing more with the software because I wanted to get some like a menuing system working. So let me just jump into that first and just show you. So as you can, a bit hard to see, that next to start is green and next to settings is red. And you'll see on the side here, my buttons, I've got red, green, blue, yellow buttons. And I think I'm going to keep the colors on the actual unit as well when I print the case for it. So the idea is that those menu items correspond to which button they are. So if I hit the red button for settings, it takes me to a settings screen. And now I've got the blue, and you can't really see the yellow, it looks more like white, arrows up and down. And so I can do things like control this cursor from my menu. So all of this is custom. I'm not using any libraries for this. I'm just writing it all myself, which is so much fun. Not. And so one of the things I'm adding, I've actually ordered this, and I should have it on Monday or Tuesday from RS Components, is a 5-volt DC fan. And I'll go into why I'm doing 5 volts in a moment. But the idea is that you'll be able to, if you want, drive a 5-volt fan. So if I hit select on this, and now it turns the 5-volt fan on. And so what that means is when it gets to the point where it says open the oven, what it'll do instead is kick a fan in and start pulling air out of the oven. So I'm going to actually take my Dremel to the oven and cut a hole on the side of the oven and attach a 5-volt DC fan. So it's only a 40mm by 40mm fan. It's quite small. Quite small. And so why did I go 5-volt? Well, the problem is, right now I'm only powering, I only plan to power the controller from a 5-volt source, from a USB plug. I am already driving one SSR, which has got its own, obviously, 240 volts, so that's fine. I could have driven another one, like another relay or some type of solid state relay to control a much more powerful fan. I could have used a 240 volt fan, but then I needed to run separate power cables to it. Or I could have used like a 12 volt fan or 24 volt fan. I still needed the separate power source. And I didn't want to run multiple power sources, at least not yet, not until I've tried this. So I wanted to go, I can drive a 5-volt fan because I've got 5 volts coming in. So I wanted to see how that would work. So the only size really 5-volt fans you can get are around 40 mil. You can get some 50 mil fans that are a little bit bigger, but they've actually got less throughput than the one I've got. The one I've got's got about, I'll get to that in a second, Zulu. So yeah, the one I've got has got a pretty decent airflow. It does, I think, 20 cubic meters per something hour, whatever it's rated to, or I don't know. Probably enough to get enough of the cooling out of the oven. I'm still going to have to open the door, but I don't have to, rush to be watching to the last beep and quickly open the door. Because you also don't want to open the door too quickly when it hits the top of the peak, because it's supposed to be a slow cool down until the drop, and because you don't want to shock the paste. So like right now I'm being really careful opening it a little bit and then opening it further. So I'm not expecting a lot of heat to be taken out from the the fan, but hopefully enough will be taken out. And if that works, great. If it doesn't, I'll have to look at another solution for powering a more powerful fan. Like I've got some 12-volt fans that are like this big that really suck air out. But the other thing I want to do is I want to be able to PWM the fans. I don't want to just kick the fan in at full speed. So I'm actually going to be driving this 5-volt fan from 3.3 volts, which isn't quite enough. It'll be enough to spin the fan, not to get it up to full speed, but I will be able to PWM it because, of course, I'm using the SAMD21 and all the GPIO is 3.3 volts. So I don't have any other choice for that at the moment unless I put some type of buck booster in there or something or I can get an Adafruit board or something to go from 3.3 to 5 volts. But then I can't PWM that. So for now, I'm just going to try this and see how it goes. So I'm putting an option into the settings right now. As you can see, there's going to be an option to switch paste. I haven't got that part of the menu working yet, although I do have different pastes in here. And I do have a 183 degree paste, which I haven't tried reflowing yet. I've actually got 183 degree paste, so I might put that on another board and test that sometime during the week. And I'm also going to have just I don't know if it's going to be a calibration or not. I mean, obviously this is calibrated to my oven. So, okay, before I talk about PID, which I'm not using, I just answered Zulu Bailey's question. No, I didn't get the touchscreen working because, as we found out in my last stream, there's no chip or touchscreen surface on this at all. So it doesn't have any touchscreen capability, so I couldn't get it working. But I've decided to go the button route anyway, at least for this version. So PID, I had a very quick look at PID and decided that it was way beyond my knowledge and understanding right now. I wanted to learn how to control the oven and not put kind of a black box in that does it for me. So it's been a really interesting process. I had multiple ways I thought I would be able to control the oven, and all of them were inaccurate, quite inaccurate. I tried with where I was chasing current temperature to an ideal temperature and using percentages based on distance away. That wasn't great, didn't give me the ability to move quick enough, and you were always compensating based on the current value. Even with a look ahead, it didn't make a lot of sense to look ahead at the graph of the ideal graph. So I tried that, then I tried doing it based on, rather than a percentage, actually just doing it based on a delta away. The problem with those is the maths that you need for I am approaching my ideal and the maths you need for I am past my ideal and I need to drop the temperature are very, very different. And one of the biggest issues with a toaster oven is they change temperature really slowly. Like when you say, hey, turn off the temperature, like literally cut power, which what my solid state relay will do. As soon as when I say don't put power, it literally cuts power to the elements. It can hold temperature for a good 10 seconds, 12 seconds before you even see a slight reduction in temperature. There's no way to accelerate that. So trying to play catch up on where you think you want to be or when you're too high isn't fast enough movement to follow the graph. So what I ended up implementing, which actually turned out really good once I got my numbers right, my base numbers right, was it does two approaches. It is looking for a rate of change always on the ideal graph. So it always knows, rather than saying this is the temperature I want, it knows this is the current rate at which my temperature should be moving at this point. And then I also track at the same time my rate of change on my current temperature. What that allows me to do is to easily look ahead without just summing a whole bunch of values and averaging them, to compare to say, okay, I'm currently moving in this direction and my ideal rate is this direction, but my ideal rate is going to continue going further up or less, which means I can, ahead of the game, do a look ahead and ramp it up. Or as I'm coming around and I know I'm going to start dipping it, I know rather than saying I need you to be here now, I can say I need you to be here, but you're going to curve down afterwards so I can compensate. And I've actually got the graph running almost identical. It's fantastic. Random question, what's the 3D printer you're using for the Builders project? Can't find the video about the 3D printer setup. I'm using a Prusa Mark III, which I picked up, which I ordered in February, but it finally arrived a couple of weeks ago. I've got a build video of that on my YouTube channel. Sean, You should be watching all my videos, Sean. Yeah, I'm using a Mark III. I don't think I could have got a good print out of my last printer. It's pretty crappy. So I'm following the curves by looking at the change on them. And then what I'm also doing is I'm doing an offset calculation based on whether I'm over or under the ideal line. And so rather than saying to the temperature, you're over the line, drop temperature, what I'm doing is I'm saying I've got two bases. So if you think about, because I'm PWMing the relay, the maximum I can give it, which is fully on, which is 255, and the, don't be sorry, Sean, I'm just joking. It's all good, but Mark III is an awesome printer. So obviously 0 is no power, 255 is full power, and 128 will be half power, like it'll be a 50% duty cycle. So I'm constantly changing the duty cycle. So what I'm doing is I'm saying I've got half my duty cycle, so 128, so 50% duty cycle plus or minus what my rate of change should be. And I'm doing a 128 or 50% duty cycle plus or minus whether I'm above or below my ideal. So rather than saying I'm above, drop the temperature, I'm saying I'm above, drop the baseline. So I'm not playing with the value of the temperature, I'm playing with the baseline, which I know ultimately does the same thing, but what it means is I'm shifting the graph, not shifting the head of the temperature, and it makes a world of difference because when you're shifting just the temperature value, you can't work out what your temperature is at any particular moment because it's being influenced by so many different things. So the temperature graph is always working off the delta of change of the ideal compared to where it is right now of momentum. And then I lift the base up and down. And all I had to do then was work out what base was a great base for the shifting up and down. It took me a lot of effort. It took me probably a whole day. And it works great. So what it means now for anyone else in the future, if I ended up selling these or giving them away or whatever I do, and people want to use them for their toaster oven, like mine's a 1300 watt oven. If someone's using an 1100 watt oven or a 1600 watt oven, then obviously the power rating is going to be different. It's not going to be able to be the same rate of change or anything. All I need to do is either give them a manual control of what their baseline is, so they can like lift or drop their baseline. So if it's getting too hot too quickly, they can drop their baseline, or if it's not reaching enough, they can lift their baseline. And if I can do that just with the one value, then I can build, if my oven is the baseline, I can build a calibration system that hopefully says, you run it, you turn it on, and it goes from whatever the 0 degrees is or whatever the ambient degrees is, run it for like 3 minutes or 5 minutes or something, and look at the change or how quickly it can go up and then how quickly it can fall off, grab those two values and automatically adjust the baseline for people. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's way more accurate than I thought it was going to be, considering I have no control of the rate of decay of the temperature in the oven without opening the door. And actually, no, I didn't post on Instagram. I might put some pictures on Instagram later today, but just to show some of the graphs that I've got. But yeah, they're pretty good. Very happy with them. Actually, let's see if I can do something tricky. Let's see if I'll get one up on my phone, because it's pretty cool. Oops, shared event. Just to show you how close it is. Bit hard to see maybe, but that is the two graphs. One of them is pink, one of them is green. That is how close my oven control is to the ideal graph. That's with me opening the door at the top of the curve. If I don't open the door at the top of the curve, that's the rate of decay of drop off. As you can see, that's pretty slow. And then that's me opening the door all the way really quickly, and you just see it go bang. So yeah, it's working really well. I'm very happy with it. So right now, I don't need to do any more work on the roof lowering part. That's working great. I'm just working on some UI control and menus and getting all that functional. I can quit back out to the main menu. So every paste has got you can give it a name and degrees, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'm surprised about how well it's going. So, yeah, okay. That's really all I had to talk about today. As I said at the start, this is really just to test my stream. I will play with the bitrate though. I'll see if I can get it better. My plan really is that if this is working and it's reliable, I mean, I know for a fact that my CPUs are sitting, nowhere near. I think they're sitting at like 30%. Maybe 38%. Like my MacBook Pro right now would be sitting at 100%, and you'd be hearing it take off. Like it would literally be flying away. So this is definitely working and stable. I just don't know if it's fast enough to stream at a high enough quality. So if this works out, and I'll watch the stream back afterwards, and I'll kind of determine whether I thought it was good enough, and if I can get the bitrate high enough, I might look at maybe building a newer Hackintosh at some point. I don't know if I'll go all the way to what are we on now? Coffee Lake? No, it was just KB Lake. I think it's Coffee Lake. Whatever it is, whatever the latest 8700K is, I don't know if I'll go that far, but I might buy a new PC that I will put Mac OS on. Don't tell Tim. Yeah, okay, so otherwise, there's really not a lot else to tell. I got shipping notice that my oscilloscope has left Hong Kong, which is exciting, except it says it's going via Adelaide, which is kind of close to Melbourne, different state. It's not the other side of Australia, but it's definitely, I wouldn't have thought it's the most direct route to go from Hong Kong to here. So, thanks, Death Shaker. Yeah, I'm very excited. Okay, so yeah, also, I just got to say, I have not got my boards printed yet. I was going to send them off to JLC PCB during the week, but then I wanted to test the fan setup first. So I've actually, I've put all the code in for the fan control already, and the fan will be running off one of the GPIOs. Here, I think I've left pin 9, which I could do PWM on SAMD21 on pin 9. So I've left that free, and I'm going to, once the fan is here, I'm going to get that hooked up and working, and as I said, cut a hole in my toaster oven, my port toaster oven, and place that on. The other thing I need to be careful of is all the fans at this level, the under the $300 price point, they're all plastic, and the maximum temperature that maximum operational temperature is like 70 or 80 degrees. I mean, my oven's, getting to 180, 200 degrees. Like, I don't have control about what people are going to do. So I'm a bit worried about how I'm going to mount it and where I'm going to mount it. I might have to actually cut 2 holes, cut one on the shell of the inside of the oven and one on the outside, the bit that you can take off the oven shell. 2 holes, and then put the fan on the outside to make sure that it doesn't get too hot. The downside to that is a lot of the heat on the inside of the oven is going to escape into the cavity on the side and potentially come through the fan. The other problem is you also, the fans are can only spin one direction. You can't just give it a negative current and have to spin the other direction. You need to blow them up. It'd be great if I could find something that actually could suck and blow, and I could control it which way it was going, because what that could mean is while the oven is working and it's reflowing, I could actually have it slowly blowing, just ever so slowly, to make sure that it's trapping all the air inside the oven. I don't want to have just oven escaping. Have hot air escaping from the oven. It's going to completely change all my values and control data. So that's going to be an interesting challenge. But assuming that it can hold temperature well enough, maybe if I offset the hole from the cavity, but then the downside is it might not suck enough air out quickly enough to get the curve down. So I don't know. I'll try it out. If it doesn't work, I'll just stick a piece of metal back on the side and put some JB Weld on it or something, or rivet it on to fill the hole again. But I'm optimistic that I can get enough air out that I can bring that curve down fast enough that I don't have to panic about shocking the solder paste when I open the door too quickly. Because the last thing you want to do is spend a whole lot of time putting a board together and reflow and have a perfect reflow, and at the very last second open the door too fast and wreck it. Okay, so there we go. Oh, there you go, Sean. There you go. That's what I've got. Mark III. Printed that out from it. Hey, Gary. Thanks. I'm just about to wrap up. Good to see you. It was an impromptu stream. It's fine. Yeah, so that was another reason I cleaned the desk, by the way, because I've got the scope coming and I had nowhere to really to put it. And there's no point having the scope sitting on the desk that I couldn't reach or couldn't access. I've got stacks of mail again. I have been wanting not to do another mail video so soon for my last one, but I think I'm going to have to. I'm probably going to record it tomorrow, and maybe I'll push it out on Monday because there's stuff in there that I really want to play with. That was off the side. But yeah, stacks of mail again. So many little packages, this big. This big, lots of them from AliExpress of all sorts of little bits and pieces and parts. Okay, but that's it. Thank you all for stopping by, those of you that did. And I really wasn't expecting anyone to come by, so that's exciting. I will keep tweaking this streaming setup and see if I can get the quality better. But good to know that it's working this well. Okay, that's it. I will see you all next week. Next week, yeah. May have a mail video coming out on Monday, and then there'll be the stream on Wednesday, which I don't know what I'm doing yet, because I was going to potentially build a reflow board, but I won't have them in time. But I might be designing a board for another project, so we'll see. If you can get a convection oven fan, I think they use them in microwave ovens. Yeah, I thought about some type of convection fan. I got no way of mounting it inside. Hey, Michael. Hi. Bye, Sean. Oh, and there's hello. Oh, maybe I'll stick around for a bit longer. I'll stick around for a little bit longer because I've got new people coming in the stream. Woohoo! And Colin and Morgan. Okay, wow. Yeah, I've been live, I think, since 4:15. I'm really just testing the setup. I've got a new setup on my workbench here. That's why it's a different background behind me now. I'm facing the other direction. I've got a brand new, clean, spacious workbench. And I set up a Hackintosh, which I'm streaming from right now. And I've finally set up my webcam here on my mount, kind of like what Brian uses on his, except I don't have enough weight at the moment to hold it down. So I need to give some more weight on it. I just had something sitting on it just then, holding it down and a sandbag. I'll work something out anyway, but yeah, I've got the ability to, I've got that working now. And the nice thing about the setup, where before all these arms I had on my desk were actually in my way and I couldn't, like, whenever I wanted to do soldering and stuff, I felt really crowded. Now I can literally just spin it away. Whoops. Which is cool. Need to be a taxi. Your kids have their licenses, Alan. Tell your kids to go drive themselves. Which filament you use for your ultrasonic eyes? The nice orange red one. It was a red one. It was, hang on. Let me go grab some filament. I'll tell you what it is, except that's gone out of focus. Of course it has. The red I used is, which brand is it? Right, so it's actually from a local shop. This is their black. So it's their own brand. The shop's called Bilby 3D. They're in Melbourne. They got shops all around Australia. I think they're just reselling someone else's filament. I'm really not sure, but it's definitely their own brand filament, as in their own packaging. And it was just their red filament. It's just a 175 PLA, so there's really nothing special about it. It's just a really nice, intense red. It's a beautiful color. I've actually, you know what? I feel just like most things. You know, you get 80% of the project done and then you just never finish it. So I actually printed a new version of this. So I pulled this apart. This is like my other one. So remember I was working on the touch sensor, which was, well, some of you might remember, which is fairly, like, it works really well, except it was a little bit too thick on the top here. And so sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. So you had to kind of put your hand there and hold it there. So months ago, I reprinted this. This is with my old printer. And I'll show you exactly why my old printer is terrible. But on the inside, you might be able to see, I've indented a section at the top. So it's less than 1 millimeter thin now on top instead of, I think, I don't have my calipers with me here. I think this is 3 mil here. And I've now got it to under 1 mil on top. So not to get here in Germany, but it was just PLA. Yeah, I only print in PLA. Yeah. I wouldn't mind maybe just testing printing with PETG in the future. PETG is like as strong as ABS, but just, you know, not as hard to work with as ABS is in terms of warping and stuff. Still not as easy as PLA, but so pretty good. So anyway, so I printed this again, and I just haven't got around to putting it together. And part of the reasons was when I took this off my printer, it took me about 2 days, and I still can't do it everywhere. You might not be able to see. Hang on. To clean the insides out, all the supports. So this has to print with supports. And my printer was so bad that the supports, as thin as I could get them, and as spaced out as I could get them, they were printing so badly that it just fused to the normal print. Like I had pliers, I had my hand in here with pliers, ripping with knives and chisels, trying to pull it apart. No, you don't have to wear wool socks to make it work. Wool socks. I don't get it. I don't get it. The touch? I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, and I still couldn't get all this stuff out. It's still like a mess in there. And so it's not smooth enough to mount everything in there. And my plan was to one day come back to it and see if I could clean it up some more. But it's disgusting print. So I never got around to finishing this. But now I think, because I've got lots of red PLA up there, I'm going to print a new one on my Mark III. And I'm pretty sure that I won't even have to use any supports at all. Like this overhang here, no problem on Mark III without support. So I'm really excited to give that a try, and I might also be able to get this top section even thinner. Real filament PETG from Amazon is good if you can get it on Amazon. Can't get anything on Amazon, so in Australia. So Amazon Australia is still really new, obviously, and pretty much every supplier that sells on there is just from China anyway, and it's really no different from buying anywhere else from China at the moment. There's no fulfillment warehouses or anything in Australia, very few. Like, you know, I think Amazon have got one fulfillment warehouse in Australia, but they don't really stock a lot of stuff. I think they're opting to stock Australian branded stuff only and not have a massive warehouse like they do overseas. So I think it's going to take a long time before Amazon are useful here in Australia. I have bought some stuff from them, and you know, it's taken 3-4 weeks to get it delivered, which is really frustrating. So, but yeah, look, I only buy from this other place because they're 15 minutes up the road, and if I want something quickly, I can go there and get it. And their filament's really good. It's definitely not the cheapest. It's probably at the the 80% or 90% price point of expensive PLA or expensive filaments in general. But they've got a pretty good range of colours and when they've got stock, and then they stock all the specialty stuff like the wooden metal ones and everything else. But I actually want to give some of the Prusa stuff a try. So I've got, with my Mark III, I've got some silver, which I haven't opened yet. I was hoping I'd get the orange, but they sent me silver. To work the extra shock from wearing wool socks. Really? Okay. I'm pretty sure I've got cotton socks. And I don't walk around in my socks in my office. I'm likely to step on some bit of resistor that I cut off that flung and land on the carpet, then I stand on it, it gets stuck in my foot. Let's not go there. This is not a good for the workplace. Yeah, so I wouldn't mind trying some of the Prusa filament, but it's just too expensive to send at the moment. But Joseph Prusa actually just sent out a massive survey, 15-page survey, to all of his customers. And so I just filled that in. And one of the questions he asked was, have you used our PLA? If not, well, our filament. If not, why? And if it's because of shipping costs, what would be ideal shipping cost? And there was a free option, but I didn't say that because I think that's ridiculous. But I said if you can get shipping to like €5 or under, or €5 or under, I'd definitely consider buying PLA from you, because apparently their PLA is fantastic. But yeah, it's the other way around the UK. You get most things in the UK, but filament has to be online. I don't know where stocks it. Definitely try this. Just be careful. Like PETG doesn't print the same as PLA. You need to really tweak your printer. Your printer settings have to be a lot more accurate to do PETG. Nowhere near as bad as ABS. But with PLA, I mean, apart from my experience with the beige, which I mentioned earlier in the stream that many of you missed, pretty much with PLA you can just shove it in and off it goes. And yeah, you don't have to worry about, like as Colin just mentioned, you don't have to worry about whether it's drafty or anything else. Although with the Mark III, it still heats the bed for PLA, which I like. I used to heat my bed for my previous printer. Like, technically, you don't need to heat the bed for PLA. But I like that it does that automatically. But yeah, like, I wouldn't mind giving PETG a go. But PETG is just really strong, and I don't print anything that needs the strength, to be honest with you. That black I just had a moment ago, that's actually PLA Plus. I've never had that before. And the only reason I got that was I wanted more black, and they didn't have any of the normal black in there. And so they gave me the PLA Plus for the same price, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to give that a try. If anything, it's just going to print better. But this printer is amazing anyway. I don't know how much better this could really get. Like, this is... I can't explain. Like, can you see the... You might not be able to see. Can you see the banding on this? You might be able to see the banding. I don't know. It's a bit hard to... Maybe a bit hard to see. There you go, with the lighting. The compression might block it. So that banding there, so it prints this way, up. And, like, you can kind of see here, all this grooves and everything everywhere. Like, it's really, really bad. That is the best print quality, the highest settings I could get on my old printer. This took about 11 hours to print. This here is the worst quality settings that the Prusa can print. And it is, I mean, it's a bit bright, you can't even really tell. It is perfectly smooth. It is insane how good this is. And this is the worst quality. Like, I reckon I could dial this down. Like, I could go to, like, 0.4mm layer heights and, you know, print twice as fast, and it would still look 100 times better than this. So, and the other thing is, I always had to print this really thick. Like, that's as thin as a wall I can get. And even here you can see the wall's separated. Like, it's just, it's shocking. Really, really bad. This thing, you can get super thin walls and really strong. So anyway, enough of the Mark III. Sorry, I'm just, you know what? My first, it was a long time before I got a 3D printer. I put off buying one. Like, my first 3D printer I only got middle of last year. Because I wasn't sure I was going to use one, and I wasn't sure the value of it, and I was a bit intimidated by the whole level that people were having to go to mod their printers or to, you know, constantly fix or unclog or whatever. Like, I did a lot of research, and when I finally caved and got my printer, and I didn't want to, you know, spend thousands of dollars on my first one. I only spent $500, but it was still $500. This is before you could get CR10s and stuff like that. That's not true, Colin. I've got a 0.4 nozzle, and these print 0.2, and their best quality is 0.12 they print, and it is insane. And it's nothing to do with the nozzle, it's to do with the extruder. So these are all 0.2 layer height. So my old printer was a CPC brand printer. It was a Chinese printer. It was basically a FlashForge knockoff. A FlashForge dual extruder, which is also kind of an open source type of design. It just wasn't great, right? So although I did get a bit of use out of it and printed some all sorts of crazy stuff, it kind of put me off 3D printing a lot because, you know, half my prints were busted or terrible. I never knew what I was going to get till the end. And then, you know, you look at something like this, that hole is flat. That hole wasn't. That hole was flat. That hole wasn't. So, like, I've got a file and I'm scraping out, trying to get these round again. Like, I don't understand. Like, have them all flat or have them all round, but like how could next to each other be wrong, different? I mean, they're this far away on the bed. Anyway, so the reason I guess I'm just so shocked and surprised about the Mark III is because all my experience with 3D printing with my other printer was that it's a really hit and miss thing, and I wasn't expecting to have such insane detail at such a low quality setting on the Mark III. Like, I don't even know if I'll ever print at a high quality setting. I don't need to. Not if this is what I can get out of it. I have one of those C2C duals as well. How many printers have you got, Colin? My God, it's crazy. I almost got the CR10. I'm denied about the Mark III, and then my printer got delayed a week, and then it got delayed a week, and then it got delayed a week, and I thought, you know, I'm going to cancel my order, and I'm going to just get myself a CR10, It's been reviewing fantastically, but then at the last minute, I just thought, no, I couldn't. You know, I waited so long. I'd been in the queue for so long, I just couldn't cancel my Mark III order, and I'm glad I didn't. It's yeah, it's a remarkable printer, and I'm loving the Wi-Fi stuff and being able to print remotely. I'm going out on either Monday or Tuesday if I'm feeling okay, just to grab a camera for my Raspberry Pi, so I can set up. I'm going to mount it on the printer so I can set up and I can monitor it, so I don't even have to come into my office to watch the print. Bed, got some. Have you just put tape on? I know it sounds silly. You know what? Hang on. Where is this? Where is it? Where is it? I want to show you something, Gary. Just if I can find where I put it. Hold on. Where did I put it? Right. This is what you want to get for your printer if you don't already have, or if it's using tape or anything. Before you put glass down or anything, Flashforge make these adhesive stick-on beds now, so you don't have to keep using painter's tape and stuff. It's got a very similar surface, although it's not metal or powder-coated, but it's a very similar surface to what Prusa are doing for their plate as well, and it's adhesive. And so you can buy them in small sheets that fit a particular printer size, or you can get them big like this. I was going to put this on my printer. I had issues with things not sticking to the bed. Make sure you're using heat, like 60 degrees for your printer bed, even with PLA, even if it tells you don't need it. And get something like this if you can find it. I think this is about $14. I never got around to putting it on, as I said, because I ordered my Mark III. But I would have, and I'm keeping it just in case I ever do anything with another printer. So definitely try to find something like this. They're really good. Anyway, be interesting to see if you have issues with Pi Zero and a camera, as a lot of people have. Oh, really? I've never looked into it. I know the camera's not great for doing, like, it's not super fast. I mean, the Pi is not the Zero's a underpowered Pi. But, and people complained that they couldn't capture video from it. I don't want to capture video, I just want to monitor. So I don't know. Okay, so yours was an adhesive bed as well. Okay, cool. Flexible steel plate. Can you get flexible steel plates? Can I tell you? Oh my god. I've only twice though I've had to take the plate off and flex it to get a print off. I had to do it for this because this was really sucked down. Otherwise, like, just leave it for a minute. As the bed starts cooling down, just grab it and go, and it comes off. Oh, crazy. And they recommend that you clean it with isopropylene before every print. I do it every 2 or 3, and it seems to be going fine. I have noticed, I've noticed that I get sometimes some really fine string. It's not string, it's like fairy floss, like super, super fine. And a few people have commented about that on the forums as well. And I can play around with the temperature a little bit to try to remove that. It's not been bad in any way. And I can literally just grab it and pull it off. But I think that the next firmware might be playing around with that a little bit as well. So I think I'm on the latest firmware. I checked when I set my printer up a few weeks ago. There might be something new, but I haven't checked. I'm not going to be changing my firmware often, I don't think. See you, Alan. I'll give you a call later. Spring steel held with magnets. Yeah. And they warn you. I went to put the hot plate back on, and as it snapped down, I had my finger near the side of it, and it pinched my finger. And boy, did it pinch my finger. Like, when I read it in the instructions. Ooh, is that some of the... I'm not sure if you can see that. That's some of the fluff sometimes that comes out of the printer. Like from the print head. It's either not retracting fast enough, or it's just a little bit too hot for the PLA. Anyway. They do tell you in the book, be careful when you're putting the plate back down because it's going to stick really quickly. And I went, yeah, whatever. Wow, that hurt. Okay, anyway. I hope you all have fun with your printers. Just keep at it, Gary. Like, you'll work it out. There'll be a combination of a whole lot of different things. Bed leveling is normally the biggest issue with things warping and not coming off the bed. I could never get my previous printer leveled properly at all. It was shocking. Must have done it 1,000 times. Could never do it. I actually went out to one of the local hardware stores and bought a whole bunch of those small little levels, spirit levels. And at one point, what I did was I had my printer on this desk where my Mark III is right now in the corner, and I put 4 spirit levels around the desk. So around, I'm showing like this. Hang on. Let's pull this out. I'll show you. Sorry, I'm crazy. So if that's my printer, right? I put a spirit level in the front, on the sides, and then I put a spirit level on the top of the printer because it's kind of like a box. Excuse me. And then I put spirit levels in. I bought like 13, 14 spirit levels. Then I put spirit levels on the bed because I kept thinking, well, it looks like I've got my bed leveled, but maybe if the printer's wrong, or this is on an angle like this, or something's twisted, like, you know what I mean? Like, the level I went to try to flatten this bed, and I got it better and better and better, but it was never great, and I always got things curling off the bottom. So if that was my print bed, I always had to print things over on that corner. If I took anything close to the middle or this side, I couldn't. It just completely peeled off the bottom. It was crazy. So I was limited, like, from this print area to only print on this small side. So, like, this was printing like this as far into the corner as possible. It was crazy. Yeah, the glass might help, but you just got to make sure that there's not an issue with the uneven heating of the bed, because the glass won't help that. Yeah, look, as I said, it just could be a combination of lots of different things. So, you know, maybe the first layer that's going down isn't thick enough, or it's going down too quickly. I don't know, but the auto leveling bed on the Mark III, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, anyway, I told Yaz that I was going to stream for about 15 minutes just to test my setup, and it's been an hour. Whoops. But anyway, thank you all for coming. I'm going to head off. I'm going out tonight with some friends for dinner. Looking forward to it. So, have a lovely weekend. Here's 3 points for living. Well, if that's all it really needs, that's, yeah. I don't know enough about your printer. My experience with printers is really limited to a shit one that I had really bad problems with, and my Mark III, which is insane. Which I've had, you know, as I said, I mentioned earlier in the stream that my first few prints with this beige PLA on the printer was ripping it to shreds, and it took me about 2 hours to work it out. So, I mean, no printer's, you know, infallible, and every new material type you put in, even though it's PLA, is, oh, Brian's streaming. I'm going to get off. Everyone go to Brian's channel too. He's on Twitch though. But yeah, everyone go. Yes, let him know I'm ending my stream right now. And thank you. Yeah, just keep at it, Gary. You'll work it out. Just perseverance, like with all things, like electronics. Anyway, thank you all. Good morning. Have a nice weekend. Hey, Maxent, R&D. Everyone go to Brian's channel. Go to Brian streaming. Dave just put a link in. Catch you all later. Bye.